Today we're talking about two massive sci-fi RPGs. Two totally different visions of space. On one side, Bethesda's Starfield, a sprawling sandbox promising endless exploration. On the other, Obsidian's The Outer Worlds 2, a focused, sarcastic, and story-driven adventure that takes aim at corporate space dystopia. Both are exclusive to the Xbox Series X and Game Pass, but they couldn't feel more different. Let's break down which one actually delivers the better experience. First, let's talk about setting and tone. Starfield treats space like a frontier. Huge, quiet, and serious. You're an explorer chasing mysteries across hundreds of planets, building ships, and carving your own path through factions. The Outer Worlds 2, though, is satire wrapped in lasers. It's bright, loud, and self-aware, mocking mega corporations and the player hero archetype itself. In short, Starfield says space is vast and humbling. The Outer World 2 says space is messed up, office run by greedy CEOs. One is awe-inspired and the other cynical. And that difference sets the tone for everything else. Now with gameplay and exploration, Starfield is Bethesda's biggest sandbox ever. You can mine resources, build outposts, design ships, and visit an absurd number of worlds. The feeling of touching down on a random moon never really gets old, at least for the first 20 hours. But the trade-off is depth. A lot of planets feel like pretty wallpaper with light gameplay loops. It's freedom, but sometimes it's empty freedom. The Outer Worlds 2 flips that. Instead of quantity, it gives you handcrafted zones packed with secrets, factions, and moral decisions. It's not about landing anywhere, it's about what happens when you do. Every area feels built for story beats and player choice, not just exploration for exploration's sake. Now with combat and gameplay, combat in Starfield is a big step up for Bethesda. Shooting finally feels tight with a mix of ballistic, laser, and magnetic weapons. The space dogfights are stylish too, but once you've seen a few, you've seen them all. The AI can feel robotic, and the weight of the guns never quite hits like a proper FPS. The Outer Worlds 2 seems to have learned from that. Gunplay feels faster, more reactive, and more expressive. You can build for stealth, for chaos, for charm, even for being an idiot. The combat feeds directly into your build choices, which means every firefight feels personal. You're not just pulling a trigger, you're pulling a roll. Now with role-playing depth and choice, here's where the philosophies really split. Starfield gives you freedom of activity. You can join factions, smuggle goods, become a pirate, or just build bases. But your character, personality-wise, is most likely neutral. The dialogue options often lead to the same result, and the companions rarely challenge your choices. The Outer Worlds 2 focuses on freedom of expression. Your build, stats, perks, even flaws shape the story. Lie too much, and the NPCs remember. Fail a persuasion check, and the story bends around it. It's not just role-playing, it's world reacting. So if you want to be someone, The Outer Worlds 2 wins. If you want to do everything, Starfield's your playground. Now let's talk about my favorite part, the graphics, performance, and presentation on the Xbox Series X. On the Series X, both games look great, but in different ways. Starfield is all about realism, metallic surfaces, planet atmospheres, light shattering. It's gorgeous in still shots. And thank goodness now we can turn it up to 60 FPS. And the frame pacing can dip in dense cities, but it feels cinematic, but not buttery smooth. The Outer Worlds leans stylized. Brighter colors, heavier outlines, exaggerated faces. It pops off the screen. in HDR, and it hits a steady at 60 FPS as well. It's not as technically jaw-dropping, but it's more consistent and expressive. So visually, Starfield is spectacle, Outer Worlds 2 is style. In order to have a great game, you gotta have great storytelling and great characters, and Bethesda went for an epic mystery. Alien artifacts, cosmic questions, the meaning of humanity. The story builds slowly, and once it clicks, it's massive. But some players feel disconnected because the protagonist has no voice, and the dialogue pacing can drag. The Outer Worlds 2 goes the opposite direction. Snappy, hilarious writing, memorable side characters, and dark humor everywhere. It's like watching a space sitcom about moral bankruptcy. Yet underneath the jokes, there's depth. Characters that challenge you, the choices that echo hours later. If you want a cinematic odyssey through the stars, Starfield delivers scale. If you want characters you'll quote and choices that'll haunt you, The Outer Worlds 2 takes the crown. Now you might be asking yourself, what about replayability and longevity? Well, Starfield is infinite in theory, hundreds of planets, procedural missions, ship builds you can easily sink 200 hours in, but a lot of that time is exploration padding. The Outer Worlds 2 might be shorter, but it's built for replays. Different stats, personality types, and moral paths actually change dialogue and quest outcomes. You might replay not for new planets, but for new perspectives. So, Starfield gives you quantity, Outer Worlds 2 gives you consequences. So, which space RPG should you play on the Xbox Series X? If you dream of being a lone explorer in a massive universe, build ships, chart stars, and lose yourself in the scale, Starfield is your adventure. But if you crave sharp writing, real choices, and a space story that bites back, The Outer Worlds 2 is the smarter pick. Honestly, they're two sides of the same galaxy. One's NASA punk realism, the other's corporate punk rebellion. Either way, space has never been this crowded. Thank you guys so much for watching this comparison video. Drop a like if you enjoyed the breakdown, and tell me in the comments which world you are choosing to explore first. Well, that's it for me today, guys. Leave a comment down below what game you prefer to play. I would love to hear from you in the comments. Let's talk about the best space RPG out there. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.